As 3D modelers, we need to deconstruct the reference images that have been provided to us, or the ones that we found online, and look for a number of different things. Earlier, I talked about deconstructing our reference images to see if we can find the basic simple shape that this 3D model is going to be constructed from. In addition, we also need to start looking and understanding if this object is a symmetrical object, meaning that the left side is identical to the right side. Most man-made objects have an inherent, type of symmetry imposed in them. If you look at a lot of things, cars, planes, trains, automobiles, they're all symmetrical. The left side is identical to the right side. They have a natural balance in their form. By having it be symmetrical, the eye is not cheated, and the brain is not, dragged down on one side, and they're weighted equally inside of our mind, and that's good industrial design. We want symmetry. Symmetry makes us feel very safe, very balanced, very secure, and so we need to look for that inherent type of symmetry in every single thing that we do. Now, I just made a very quick render here. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Here's the front of our train, and you can see that there are a number of elements here that are symmetrical. The wheels, the right wheels are identical to the left wheels. All of this jazz over here and all of this stuff is the same on both sides of the train. These are all pieces that need to be in the exact same location on the left and the right-hand side of our little train here. So we need to look and create certain objects inside of our scene that are symmetrical to one another. Let me show you how to do that real fast over in Modo. It's really easy. The first thing that we need to do is create some geometry that we want to make symmetrical on the opposite side of the axis that we're working on. In Modo, this process is called mirroring. And it's all going to begin with a selection. And I'm just going to grab one of my wheels here. And of course, I need to have this wheel on the positive side of the x-axis, but I also need a copy of it on this side of the x-axis. Now, if you look at the scene from the front here, now you could, recreate this wheel and simply move it over. But like I said, I'm a control freak. I want to have this wheel be precisely, and I mean precisely in the exact same location on this side of the x-axis as I have it over here on this side. So it's important that all these elements be positioned before we do this mirroring operation. If your scene and if your object is not centered around the origin of the scene, this is not going to work. The mirroring operation is a direct benefit of paying very close attention to where you're creating all of this three-dimensional geometry in reference to the origin. I've been very disciplined, and I've created my model at the origin of the scene, so these mirroring tools are made available to me. So I've selected that wheel, and I'm going to change a couple things here. Oh, actually, let's do the mirroring operation first, and then we'll go back in and make a couple changes to give us the precision that we're after. You can find all of the mirroring tools inside of your duplication tab of tools on the left-hand side of your interface, or right there. Let's go ahead and duplicate it, and you can see that mirror is right here. It's the second tool from the top. This is mirror. Now, once again, we've turned the tool on, but we haven't applied the mirror tool to our scene until we physically left-click inside of our three-dimensional viewport. Now, pay real close attention to where I'm clicking. I'm clicking on the negative side, or the opposite side of the x-axis that the geometry is currently residing at. So I'm going to click on it over here. There we go. Now, you're probably saying to yourself, Pat, that's awesome that it worked. I now have a duplicate piece of geometry, but it is nowhere near where I need it to be. You said it was going to be in the exact same location on the opposite side, and I kind of made a little fib. I kind of lied to you a little bit. With the default tool options, where you click represents the center of the axes that you're going to be mirroring along. In every sense, if you were to draw a straight line from this wheel to this wheel and then bisect it, make a middle point, this little light blue, cyan, Cuban, purple line represents the middle of that line. Well, this is an interactive tool. I can left click and drag and place this wherever I want. I can put it right there and get kind of close, and that's fine too. If you go and look at your scene from perspective, you can see that it's actually a little plane. You have a couple different angles in here. This is a three-dimensional widget that allows us to change some tool actions, or some tool properties on the fly. Now, really and ultimately what we're doing here when we're messing around with these tool handles is that we're interactively changing the values of the mirror tool. This light blue one with the dotted line is ultimately changing the angle of the mirror generator, which I don't want. I want to put that back down at 0. not 20, excuse me, messed up. There we go. And this one here, as you can see, it's interactively changing the center of our mirror generator, which is cool, but it's not giving me the type of geometry and the type of effect that ultimately I am after. So let me drop the tool. And I'm going to hit the undo key to go back in time a couple steps. And I want to show you how we can use the action centers to aid us in getting us very, very perfect geometry on the other side of the x-axis. So this time, check this out. It's pretty cool. I'm going to change my action center to origin. Now, as we discussed in an earlier video, the origin action center is automatically going to place all tool handles for every single tool at the origin of our scene. Now, in our case, that's exactly what we want, because I want to be able to mirror my geometry at the origin. So there we go. Let's run the mirror tool. And once again, I'll left click on the opposite side of the x-axis to apply the tool. And then now check it out. Look where my tool handles showed up. This big blue box is right down there perfectly at the center of our scene, which is awesome. I really, really like that. Now, this is still interactive, so it's not permanently written in stone, but it gives us the perfect accuracy and the perfect placement of the duplicated geometry upon first click, which I'm all about. So use the origin action center. It's a very quick way of duplicating your geometry across the x-axis, or any axis for that matter, to get you a duplicate copy in the exact same distance and spatial relationship as the other one has over here to the rest of the objects inside of our scene. Mirroring is going to become a very powerful part of our three-dimensional modeling pipeline as we get more sophisticated in our skill set and in the later projects inside of this course.